lunatic experience.
Unless you're playing 3 on me, it's 2 more who wanna play some D. In the place to be, who replacing me? The way I ball, got your whole squad chasing me. When I hit the hole, who trying to find out? I'm breaking backboards, call it time out.
No, I won't stay down. I'm gonna rebound. It's a crying shame.
Joining us right now is Barry Sorrells. He is a defense attorney and a former Dallas County prosecutor.
Well, I think based upon what I know, besides reading the news reports and the stories that's been written about this case, I've also read the affidavit, sworn affidavit signed by a Texas Ranger in the search warrant to search Mr. Jean's apartment, also an affidavit in support of an arrest warrant to arrest Officer Geiger. And after reviewing all of that information, it's strange to me as to why at this point that she is being charged with manslaughter rather than murder. The legal issues I see is that if you knowingly and intentionally cause the death of another individual, you intend to do it, or you know that your actions are going to cause it, then that's first-degree murder. Manslaughter is second-degree felony, and the mental state is not knowingly, intentionally, it's recklessly, where you're aware of a known risk and disregard it. I don't see where that mental state applies here. It's like if you shoot at a fly on your wall with a gun, knowing that there's neighbors on the other side, and you kill somebody, that seems to be manslaughter. And I fully...
'Cause it's more reckless, you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay, reckless disregard, but murder would fit more when you know that you're actually shooting at someone.
That's right, and you knowingly, intentionally cause the death. And I expect, after further investigation, including the district attorney's office getting involved, that this case, my opinion is this case will come out of the grand jury, first-degree murder.
And then it'll be up to them to prove whether this was justified or not.
It'll be up to the defense at trial, which I fully expect that's where this case is going to go and should. It'll be up to the defense to prove through the evidence that this was justified under the law. And it would be a combination of mistake of fact along with justification for shooting someone that is burglarizing your place.
So just to be clear here, even if you make a mistake and you walk into someone else's apartment and you thought it was your own, you see them, you shoot them, you kill them, it can still be considered justified because you didn't realize you had made the mistake going into the wrong apartment.
Well, whether or not she believed in fact that this was her apartment, and I think that will be an important part of this case, but it's not conclusive that it was justified. You have to immediately believe that your life is in jeopardy. This is not self-defense. It's not defense of another person. This is based upon burglary at nighttime, stealing one's property, or the possibility of a felonious assault. You have to believe that to protect yourself from those things, that it became necessary at that moment to discharge your weapon. So even if the jury believes that she mistakenly thought it was her apartment, I think the issue is going to be what was going on at the time that she fired the weapon and the reasonableness of that. I mean, there's also, I think, the jury's going to take into consideration, could she have taken other more reasonable actions?
I'm going to go see if the front door is open. Just try to check this out. Last time I couldn't even walk up because there was a huge hole right here. I don't know, I might not be able to go in, but I'm going to try it out. Hello. We are in. I'm going to walk you through. Basically, I'm trespassing, but... Hello.
Breaking news from CBS 11.
And that breaking news we've just learned, the Dallas police officer charged with manslaughter in connection with the shooting death of Botham Jean has been fired.
In 1950, General Adaptation Syndrome has 3 stages that act as a guide to assist healthcare professionals with their evaluation and early intervention strategies. The first stage in the process is alarm, where the body reacts with a fight or flight response when the sympathetic nervous system is stimulated by a threat or danger. It's what you would feel in that boardroom, a lump in your throat or a pit in your stomach, even bodily reactions like your cheeks flushing and sweat beating on your forehead. In the second stage, resistance, the body resists and compensates as the parasympathetic nervous system attempts to return many physiological functions to normal levels, while the body still remains on alert. Imagine yourself back in the boardroom, getting ready to present to the group again. In the approaching days of the presentation, you have trouble sleeping and your energy levels change dramatically throughout the day. The third and final stage is exhaustion. In this stage, stressors continue beyond the body's capacity, and the body's resources simply can't fight anymore. It is at this stage where a person becomes more susceptible to disease and death. Although clinically defined in stages, Dr. Sellier also cautioned that general adaptation syndrome rarely occurs in a pure form. It's complicated by underlying actions of the stressors, so is really better defined as a spectrum. This spectrum and our central system response to it is referred to as the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal or HPA axis. It is within the HPA axis that a complex set of feedback interactions takes place and forms a major part of the neuroendocrine system that controls the stress response. The major players in the system are the hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and adrenal cortex. They play upon each other in a domino-type effect. This response is characterized by hypothalamic release of the corticotropin releasing factor, or CRF. When CRF binds to CRF receptors on the anterior pituitary gland, adrenocorticotropic hormone, or ACTH, is released. ACTH binds to receptors on the adrenal cortex and stimulates the release of cortisol. In response to stress, cortisol will be released for several hours after encountering the stressor. Once the bloodstream obtains a certain concentration of cortisol, protection is achieved. Cortisol then sends that feedback to its other members of the stressor attack team, and systemic homeostasis begins to return. With repeated and sustained stressors, and therefore HPA axis activity, the body can not only become more sensitive to new stressors, but can also weaken. That's why it's important to maintain equilibrium of the HPA axis and help the body maintain a healthy stress response. Because stress is a common part of everyday life, restoring homeostasis to the HPA axis is a primary goal of integrative care. To learn how to optimize the HPA axis, download our HPA Axis Optimization program. For more insight on the complexities of the HPA axis and the effects of and responses to stress, visit the Stress Response Resource Center or integrativepro.com.
Cramming for a test? Trying to get more done than you have time to do? Stress is a feeling we all experience when we are challenged or overwhelmed. But more than just an emotion, stress is a hardwired physical response that travels throughout your entire body. In the short term, stress can be advantageous, but when activated too often or too long, your primitive fight or flight stress response not only changes your brain, but also damages many of the other organs and cells throughout your body.
26-year-old Alyssa Skipintheday died Saturday near the entrance to the camp after she had an asthma attack.
Your adrenal gland releases the stress hormones cortisol, epinephrine, also known as adrenaline, and norepinephrine. As these hormones travel through your bloodstream, they easily reach your blood vessels and heart. Adrenaline causes your heart to beat faster and raises your blood pressure, over time causing hypertension. Cortisol can also cause the endothelium, or inner lining of blood vessels, to not function normally. Scientists now know that this is an early step in triggering the process of atherosclerosis, or cholesterol plaque buildup in your arteries. Together, these changes increase your chances of a heart attack or stroke. When your brain senses stress, it activates your autonomic nervous system. Through this network of nerve connections, your big brain communicates stress to your enteric or intestinal nervous system. Besides causing butterflies in your stomach, this brain-gut connection can disturb the natural rhythmic contractions that move food through your gut, leading to irritable bowel syndrome, and can increase your gut's sensitivity to acid, making you more likely to feel heartburn. Via the gut's nervous system, stress can also change the composition and function of your gut bacteria, which may affect your digestive and overall health. Speaking of digestion, does chronic stress affect your waistline? Well, yes. Cortisol can increase your appetite. It tells your body to replenish your energy stores with energy-dense foods and carbs, causing you to crave comfort foods. High levels of cortisol can also cause you to put on those extra calories as visceral or deep belly fat. This type of fat doesn't just make it harder to button your pants. It is an organ that actively releases hormones and immune system chemicals called cytokines that can increase your risk of developing chronic diseases, such as heart disease and insulin resistance. Meanwhile, stress hormones affect immune cells in a variety of ways. Initially, they help prepare to fight invaders and heal after injury, but chronic stress can dampen the function of some immune cells, make you more susceptible to infections, and slow the rate you heal. Want to live a long life? You may have to curb your chronic stress. That's because it has even been associated with shortened telomeres, the shoelace tip ends of chromosomes that measure a cell's age. Telomeres cap chromosomes to allow DNA to get copied every time a cell divides without damaging the cell's genetic code. And they shorten with each cell division. When telomeres become too short, a cell can no longer divide, and it dies. As if all that weren't enough, chronic stress has even more ways it can sabotage your health, including acne, hair loss, sexual dysfunction, headaches, muscle tension, difficulty concentrating, fatigue, and irritability. So, what does all this mean for you? Your life will always be filled with stressful situations, but what matters to your brain and entire body is how you respond to that stress. If you can view those situations as challenges you can control and master, rather than as threats that are insurmountable, you will perform better in the short run and stay healthy in the long run.
People of poverty, the state of being extremely poor, lack of normal resources, social, economical, and political, no means of basic needs, shelter, medical, food, clothing, human rights, violence, and sustainability. The 2018 federal poverty level for one individual is $12,140. For a family of two is $16,460. Again, thank you for watching Less Stress Matters. Let's return to the rest of the program. Thank you very much.
Got stress? With 75% of adults reporting moderate to high levels of stress in the past month, there has to be a solution. So what are the best scientific methods to deal with stress and anxiety? How can you genuinely relax your mind and body? They say laughter is the best medicine. Turns out it's also the stress medicine. When we laugh, our oxygen intake increases, stimulating the release of endorphins. Studies even show that simply waiting to see a funny movie can increase beta endorphin levels by 27% and decrease stress hormone levels in the bloodstream.
Around Democrats versus Republicans, and you have people like Kanye West who's saying, listen, love you guys and Democrats.
Excuse me 1 second.
After a hilarious film, participants had lower levels of the stress hormone chromogranin A in their saliva. And while you're at the movies, why not make out with someone? It decreases cortisol and increases oxytocin from the pituitary gland in the brain, creating feelings of attachment, bonding, contentment, and security. Study participants who kissed their partners regularly over 6 weeks had lower blood cholesterol levels. Of course, some chewing gum might help your breath, but a Japanese study also found that those who chewed twice a day for 2 weeks increased their feelings of well-being. Other study participants who chewed gum while being subjected to a stress-inducing task also showed lower levels of cortisol in their saliva than those who didn't have gum. And not because of the ingredients in the gum, but simply from the act of chewing, known as mastication. This repetitive motion is directly related to increased activity in the cerebral area of the brain and relaxation. Time spent in nature or even a simple houseplant can lower stress levels too. In 1982, the Japanese government started a Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing campaign, promoting the benefits of spending time in the forest for this purpose. In just one short visit to the forest, cortisol levels, heart rate, and blood pressure have all been shown to decrease. Even hospital patients who have a view of nature tend to have better pain tolerance and faster recovery rates compared to those who faced only a blank wall. Speaking of leaves, even though relaxation from tea may simply be a placebo, it turns out that the anticipation of a ritual linked with relaxing emotions may very well be a self-fulfilling prophecy. In other words, if you're mentally preparing yourself to relax with your favorite calming tea or relaxing scented oils, our brain is primed to slow down and can actually influence well-being. The amygdala in the brain is responsible for emotional control and is directly connected to our olfactory system. Inhaling a candle scent reminiscent of a happy childhood time, like warm apple pie, may very well help us relive those memories, creating a better mood. Music can have a similar effect. Songs with 60 to 80 beats per minute but no lyrics have been shown to reduce stress even in patients who have undergone various types of surgeries. And if you can get or be near a pet, do it. Having a dog correlates to lower scores on anxiety tests, 12% compared to 21% for those without one. And being in the presence of a friendly dog has been shown to lower cortisol levels and increase oxytocin. Finally, some people relax and focus by fidgeting, which is why we made another video on fidget spinners, the new toy craze, and whether or not they actually work. Head over to that video by clicking the screen or using the link in the description. And subscribe for more weekly science videos every Thursday.
We got to continue to help these people so we can rise as a nation.
James Cross was once in recovery.
Who's you? How you guys doing?
Now he is volunteering at the wall to help people find treatment.
Six-year-old Alyssa Skipintheday died Saturday near the entrance to the camp after she had an asthma attack. Her cousin told us she didn't have her inhaler.
She lived here in the camp, you know, and she was always battling asthma. She had asthma really bad, and we had to help her a couple of times. I gave her my personal inhaler. Somehow when you're moving around in camps like this, your backpack gets locked.
On behalf of CCX and Less Stress Matters, we want to say we appreciate your effort, your time, and everything that you do, because this is what it takes, individuals making a stand.
Hello, my name is James Allen Cross. That's the Red Lake Nation. The rest of the 10 tribes in Minnesota are supporting that move.
Okay.
On our Natives Against Human. We're out here at the camp of the Walla Forgotten Natives. You know, it's, we got all types of relatives, homeless or not homeless today, but houseless or shelterless, or you know, somewhere they can call their own home. You know, with running water and the things that we are gifted, you know, every day. So we just stay out here every day. The movement. And I always got to say, be good for the movement and the people that are in it for doing the work. But also, you know, these relatives that are providing services and the people that are getting services. And we know it's a long process, but you know, when winter comes, hopefully they have a place to go home, stay warm.
How long has the camp been here?
Well, it's going on 7. I mean, it's been out here for many years, but for the majority of it, it's only been out here for like 7 weeks. Consistent, this big.
Okay. And is there a deadline date?
No, we don't have a deadline date. We're looking at maybe October 31st if Red Lake does get permission to demolish all their buildings across the street on 55. And then we're going put those heat tents up and FEMA trailers, and we're looking at hopefully a big pour.
What can we as citizens do to help the situation?
Well, I think we have to always just address the city hall, the mayor, the governor of Hennepin County, and anybody that really understands what's going on here, why is it here, and how can we just make sure the message is getting help, that these people are getting the help they need soon, because it's getting cold.
Okay. And do you feel that the city is addressing the issues, or are they as business as usual?
Business as usual. That's why I think it was a power move for the tribes to come together and say, hey, we got a spot over there. We got a spot. So I think that was a power move on the tribal, and it shows that they're listening to the people down there.
Okay. So the main organization is the Tribal Counseling that is helping to further this movement?
That's the Red Lake Nation that has that property over here, but the rest of the 10 tribes in Minnesota.
Is there any one thing that you think that the people should know more so than anything else?
Well, this is not a sad story. This is a cry for help. This is our, as people understand that we're the first group, and we're coming together to make sure that they see that we're still here and that we're taking what we Mother Earth back.
Okay. So none of us are free until all of us are free.
Oh, yeah, that's a great point, and that's what it is. You see, there's multiple nationalities out here, and it just happens to everybody comes over here because we feed them, we treat them with dignity, we respect them as where they're at in life. We don't look bad at them because we once were there.
Yeah, everybody requires respect. Regardless of the situation, everybody should be respected. Yeah. I just want to say this is for Less Stress Matters, Brooklyn Park, CCX Media, and we're here on the scene trying to make people aware of situations that affect all of us. Because I say, until all of us are free, none of us are free. If one of us doesn't have a home, none of us have a home, because we all live together. It's all about all of us, and we can't move on any further, so maybe it's time to stop and get things put in the right position.
Right, because you have to understand these new, all our grandbabies, are mixed. And it's becoming, so we have to look at the four directions of our circle, the yellow, the white, the red, and the black, right? Mm-hmm. And come together and stand up for each other that are less fortunate and are having those barriers in life through, housing, treatment, drug addiction, just crisis with felonies, or, want to be split from your husband and your kids because you need to get in shelter, so your husband's out here and you worry about that. So it's all of those barriers. We got to come together and make it better for the 7th generation of children.
On behalf of CCX and Less Stress Matters, we want to say we appreciate your effort, your time, and everything that you do, because this is what it takes, individuals making a stand.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
For coming out.
Demolition. Number 1, spraying of water during demolition. A, dust control. Demolition causes huge amounts of dust. B, it's annoying. C, it's a health issue. D, the water catches the dust produced from the excavator, knocking down things during demolition. E, the water prevents or reduces clouds of dust, choking, blinding, and causing a mess. F, it's a human hazard. On the opposite side of Highway 55, across the highway where the wall of the Forgotten Natives homeless campgrounds are, this is the area that will be used to create temporary transition location. The Red Lake Nation, whom donated the land, along with FEMA and other local agencies, will provide shelter until individuals are found housing.
grade.
So we're here at the Wall of the Forgotten Natives. I'm talking to James Cross. Me and James talked about 2 weeks ago in regards to what the situation was with the council and being able to get property in order to set up the encampment for temporary transit for between homeless people along with the FEMA situation. As I see now, they've started the demolition. James, can you tell me briefly how that happened? We talked about this a couple weeks ago.
Well, Red Lake came down with, they had that property, so Red Lake came down with the power move because, it seemed like the city was, just, trying to weave their way out of a comparable situation where it would help us. So Red Lake came down with a power move. They had property, and it's a great start. So they're going to be moving. Whoever wants to move from here over to there, the navigation center. Hopefully by December 8th, we're praying that they keep on the project time, because it is getting cold. But it takes our people to step up and do that, right?
Yes. And
that's what we're trying to tell every nation. It takes our nationality. Get your leaders together, get the people, come together and make it happen. If you keep on letting them separate us and keep on pushing us in the woods or under bridges, and it ain't going to make no change. Today, this is the only reason we're getting looked at as homelessness. But you see that they're coming from the east, the south, the north, the west and the north. And it's a beautiful thing. What everybody has to say is, remember, we're cutting down on racism, we're cutting down on hate. This is bringing a beautiful community together.
Right. 'Cause I'ma give you what you need, yeah. Mommy, you remind me of something, but I don't know what it is. You remind me of something, you gotta show me. Alright. You remind me of something, but I don't know what it is right now. You remind me of something, you gotta show me. On the real, no lie. I don't know what it is, but you're just my type. Everything just right. B said put it to the left, don't listen to the hype though. Got a cup in your hand, baby sitting but you ain't got no kiss. We ain't leaving till it ain't no more left. Can't see no time on the Rolex. I could tell you a freak gon' show it. Looking for the after party with a dough at. Dough on the floor like a dough man. Baby you know where to throw that. I said, mommy you remind me of something. You remind me. I don't know what it is. You remind me of something. You gotta show me.
About the book Shook One.
Shook One, anxiety playing tricks on me, man. It'll be out October 23rd. It's about, just anxiety that I've been dealing with my whole life. It's about PTSD. It's about trauma. I want everybody to be mentally healthy. And I love that, it's a lot of people out here right now elevating the conversation of mental health in America. And we need to eradicate, the mental health stigma that exists in the black community. So it's not even something that I was aiming to do, when I started writing it last year. But now I'm looking around and I'm looking at what Taraji P. Henson's doing with her foundation. Yeah. I'm even hearing a guy like Kanye West talk about, his bipolar. I just feel like now is the time to have that conversation. So the book will be out October 23rd. You can pre-order it now wherever you buy books.
The pride of South Carolina.
26-year-old Alyssa Skippintheday died Saturday near the entrance to the camp after she had an asthma attack.
This was our stolen land. Today we're claiming it, right? We're claiming it.
The group Natives Against Heroin is working around the clock in the middle of all the tents, assisting with medical needs, distributing water and food, and trying to provide security.
We push out the dope dealers as much as we can to confront them, because we say we don't want you here. We can't stop what you do, but you can bring it over there somewhere else.
The green tent.
Kat Yanez has shuffled between shelters for 2 years, but now she has settled at a place they call the Wall.
First thing I can say is don't judge us, because we're all human beings.
Yanez fell into homelessness the way a lot of people here did. Addiction.
It took my home, my kids. It just took everything.
We're strong people from the land.
The bottom line is we have about 3 months to figure this out.
Vacant ones, I just leave them for people who need them.
Yanez dreams of a world beyond the Wall.
Not a white picket fence, but to where there's a roof over my head. And I think, if we all just work together and do our thing, we can get it. And I'll go home.
Unless you're playing 3 on me, it's 2 more who wanna play some D. In the place to be, who replacing me? The way I ball got your whole squad chasing me. When I hit the hole, who trying to find